Namaskar. Today is April 27th, 2026. Each year on March 14th begins my 100-day journey in returning to the essence of yoga in celebration of International Day of Yoga on June 21st. This year I chose to revisit Maharishi Patanjali's Yoga Sūtra and share my daily practices inspired by it. This is Satvik Yogi Path, a simple, non-religious, global way of living with clarity. Welcome to day 45 of Satvik Yogi Path. Today we explore Yoga Sūtra 1.45. Today we will learn the deepest point of the clarity, the deepest point. And the Yoga Sutra is sūkṣma viṣayatvaṁ cāliṅga paryavasānam. Once again. Sūkṣma viṣayatvaṁ aliṅga paryavasānam. So let's just break this down word by word. Maharishi Patanjali describes the deepest limit of the subtle perception, the deepest limit. And here is the Sanskrit breakdown. Sūkṣma viṣayatvaṁ, the nature of subtle objects. Cha, which means and. Aliṅga paryavasānam, ending in the unmarked, indivisible. So which means that as attention becomes refined, more refined, as our attention becomes more refined, subtle objects become subtler still until they reach the finest point, the smallest, the indivisible unit of perception. And this is the place where nothing further can be divided or analyzed. And this place is called aliṅga. So Maharishi Patanjali calls this place where nothing further can be divided or analyzed. And this place is called aliṅga, the unmarked, the undifferentiated. The point where subtle clarity reaches its natural end. This is not mystical. It is simply the mind becoming so quiet that it meets the smallest possible experience. Okay, so as an analogy, I have something, the finest grain of sand. Imagine holding a handful of sand. You can see the grains clearly. Then you pick one grain. And then you look closer, just one grain. You pick one grain and you look closer and then closer, a little more. And eventually you reach a point where the grain, that single grain of sand, cannot be further divided. There will nothing be left for to analyze further. So your attention becoming so finer that the object, that is the grain, just reaches a point where it cannot be further analyzed. Maharishi Patanjali says that subtle clarity works the same way. Attention becomes so fine that it meets the smallest point of experience. Clarity becomes finest when attention becomes finest. So, why this matters to our life, or how? Before we move on there, let me give you a shout out. Taras-I5X. Hello, Taras. Thank you so much for joining. It's my pleasure you have joined. Thank you. We are practicing, we are learning about attention and how. Oh, Tara, lovely, lovely. I would suggest, do not write your age or other information in the public forum. Next time, remember that, okay? But I'm so glad you joined, because I believe we are talking about attention, how to pay attention and how to see things clearly. And I believe at your age, it is even finer, right? If you like something, if you love to do something, you would have all your focus there, right? As long as you love to do that. So yes, that is exactly what we are talking. So nice. Thank you. You're just so wonderful. I have to say this to you. So now, what this sutra teaches us, or how it matters in our life. So this sutra teaches us that subtle perception has a natural limit. Attention can become extremely refined. Like just now I said, Taras, your user ID. If you love something and you're doing something with all your focus and all your attention, and slowly, by step, the attention starts to get finer and finer and finer, right? That is what we are talking about. I never know this. Thank you for telling me. Of course. Thank you. So, anything that you love, anything that you like to do, it could be art, it could be playing a game on your mobile device, or anything, or just watching. Like sometimes I sit by the window and I look outside and I'm looking at the sky and I then birds flying or whatever. So anything, that is something I love to do. And then my whole concentration is on the sky. If a bird is flying by, I'm just watching the bird, and slowly it just gets deeper and deeper into the sky. And it of course it is amazing. As long as your attention, the more you give, the more you receive. So this matters because attention becomes extremely refined. And clarity is we see things as they are. Clarity deepens as the mind becomes lighter. You're not thinking anything else. All these thoughts that come to our mind when we are like, mind is like that jumping monkey. It's always busy. Any new thought comes in, and if it's a worrisome thought, mind gets busy. Oh, so this thought is here. Mind gets busy. But when thought comes to distract us, we are not judging the thoughts. We are just let it pass by. One after the other, thoughts keep coming. Just let it go and bring all your focus back to what you were doing. And that way, you can deepen your attention and your focus. So it's a practice that together we are doing. And hence clarity deepens as the mind becomes lighter. When does the mind become heavier? When the mind is running, chasing, following the thoughts, or trying to become the thoughts. But when the mind is just observing one thought after the other, and just when it feels distracted, it is bringing its focus either on your breath or your navel, or like I said, I'm watching the sky, so back to the sky. So clarity deepens when the mind becomes lighter. And the smallest experiences can be steady anchors. Yoga is the art of meeting reality at its finest point. You see the reality as it is. So what are we going to practice today? And before I go there, let me give shout out to, oh lovely, how nice. Here is my love to you. This is for you, Taras I5X. That was for you. So what are we going to practice today? Today we practice noticing. So the first one, we notice one subtle object. Subtle object, like a breath or a sensation. Then letting attention become light. Then observing the small detail. It's like the grain of sand. One grain of sand. Then softening our thought and resting in the finest clarity and gentle repetition of the universal sound as we practiced before, that Om, the universal sound, it rises in the belly. Om, it moves through the chest. The vibration softens at the lips. So let's begin with our practice. Practice of stillness. How do you practice stillness? Stillness is when there is no movement. So how do we practice that? Let's begin. Our first practice is settling our breath. Just settling our breath. Now, what do I mean by settling our breath? By meaning of settling our breath is, it's like you love to play an instrument. It could be a string instrument, or a wind instrument like a flute or a recorder, or wind instrument, anything. So anything you play in school, or any instrument at home, you always tune that instrument, right? Even for singing, I sing, and even to sing, use my vocal cord, which is my instrument, my voice box. I need to first warm up and tune it, and suddenly I cannot just stop. I should not be singing. I won't be able to. So that tuning of breath is the settling of breath. So let's begin. And I always say that whenever I say sit comfortably, it only means that sit with your back and spine straight. Make sure you're not sitting on your tailbone. You are seated on your glutes, your hip bones adjust, and now back and spine straight. Now roll your shoulder if you have to, and your chest opens up. And when your chest opens up, your lungs get some extra space to work to its fullest. So back and spine straight, and you're looking at a point at the eye level right in front of you, and most importantly with a smile. And you look at that point and then slowly close your eyes. But before we do that, we place one hand on to our navel. Navel is the belly button. And our first step is to just watch our breath. Just observe our breath as you breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. So you're only observing your breath, only observing your breath. You're not saying, oh, my breathing is fast, or is it too low, slow, or is it too erratic? No, you're only observing your breath. You're getting to know your breath, and this is the first step in learning about yourself, is to observe. So you just observe as you breathe in softly and breathe out softly, but you are only observing. That's the first step. Let's move on to the second step. Second step is, once you have observed your breath, now we breathe with awareness. And how do we do that? Place one hand onto your navel or your belly button, and now you would breathe with awareness. How? You take in all the oxygen through inhalation, and your belly button extends because your whole body now is receiving the oxygen. So it's like a balloon. You placed your hand over your navel, and now as you breathe in, the balloon extends, and as you breathe out, the balloon distends. So let's do this practice 3 times for 3 breath cycle. Now breath cycle is 1 inhalation and exhalation. That's 1 breath cycle. So we do it 3 times. Let's do it. Again, sit with back and spine straight with your chin slightly tucked in and never leaving your smile. So smile and we breathe with awareness. We do it 3 times. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and the last, breathe in, breathe out. So what you're doing by placing your hand on your navel, you are also, now your awareness is at work. As you breathe in, the belly extends because it's all filled up with oxygen. And as you breathe out, all carbon dioxide that you are expelling out of your body, so it distends. And the hand on your navel is how you are experiencing your feeling. Okay, with awareness I'm breathing and it is extending and distending, extending and distending. This is called diaphragmatic breathing. So from using the diaphragmatic, the diaphragmatic respiratory muscle in breathing in and out. Now the third step. The third step in settling our breath is equalizing our breath. Now first you observed, then you breathed with awareness, and now the third is equalize your breath. Equalizing your breath with awareness. Let's do it. The number of counts for inhale must be equal to the number of counts for exhale. So let's do it 3 times. Again, place your hand on your navel, and now with awareness we breathe in but count. I will count to 2 and we breathe out count of 2. So we are equalizing our breath. Let's do it. Breathe in, 2. Breathe out, 2. Breathe in, 2. Breathe out, 2. Last, breathe in, 2. Breathe out, 2. And slowly open your eyes. And then we move on to the fourth step. And the fourth step is we will double the count of exhalation from the inhalation. So if we are counting 2 for inhalation, then the exhalation in that same breath cycle will be 4. So it's doubling the count. Again, place your hand on your navel and now breathe in. I usually just count 2 because it's easier. Then I can exhale in 4 counts. But it's up to you. If you feel comfortable counting to 3 inhalation, then how many would you have to exhale? 6, because it's double. So I like to keep it simple and easy, and that is 2 counts. So let's go. Back and spine straight, chin slightly tucked in, and few normal breaths, and breathe in, 2. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. The last, breathe in, 2. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. And just stay like that for some time. and open your eyes. So these are the 4 steps towards our goal when we breathe, is how slow exhalation we can make, how longer we can exhale in single breath cycle. So the moment we start to exhale more than the inhalation, that our breath slowly starts to settle. And when the breath settles, the mind settles. And when the mind settles, we look at things as it is. So the clarity deepens more. So let's move on to our second stillness practice, which is choosing a very subtle object. Now this subtle object that you choose, subtle, could be a faint sensation in your body, or your soft breath, or just a quiet pause. So you choose. These are the subtle objects you choose. A quiet moment or a pause, or your soft breath, or a faint sensation. At this point of time, I'll be honest with you, I can feel a faint sensation in my left foot, right where my big toe is. So that's a faint sensation I can feel. I can choose that sensation as the subtle object, or the breath, your soft breath, or a quiet moment, a quiet pause. The pause could be thinking before you speak, or the pause to thinking before you act. The pause could be thinking just before you do things. So you choose whether a pause or your breath or a faint sensation. Now, notice the fineness. That's the third stillness practice. Now that we have settled our breath, that's one. Second, we chose our subtle object, either a breath or a quiet pause or a faint sensation in the body. So now we notice the fineness. Let our attention rest lightly without effort. So in my case, since I've chosen the faint sensation where on my left foot where my big toe is, and I'll rest my attention there. Resting your attention on that subtle object. And then let thought soften. So that faint sensation where at the toe, the thought could be that, oh, is it because I've placed my foot in a manner that my big toe on my left foot is not positioned well. That was just an example. So that thought, I'm thinking, but I don't want to overthink. The thought is there, but just let it be there. I'm not concentrating on the thought. I'm concentrating on that faint sensation. So, not the thought. So, I am letting the thought just as it is and let it go. Let the thought soften and go. So now we rest in the finest point. When the thought softens, now we stay with the smallest detail you can sense. It could be about breath. That, okay, so when if you have chosen breath, then the smallest detail of the breath. Is it warm? Is it cold? That smallest detail. And as long as my choice of subtle object, that is the faint sensation, is concerned, is it feeling warm? Or is it tingling? Or is it burning or any feeling? So finer detail. That subtle object. And then the last but not the least is the contemplation. Bhavna, the contemplation. So we say that clarity becomes finest when attention becomes finest. So the more deeper I go, I have let the thought soften and it's no longer there. Now it is only the subtle object that I'm concentrating on, and I'm going into the deeper detail, and I'll be able to see as it is the sensation. So bhavna is the contemplation that clarity becomes finest when attention becomes finest. So here is a day 45 challenge. Every day there's a challenge. Today you would pause once and notice the smallest detail in your experience. A soft breath, or a faint sensation, or a quiet moment. And let your attention rest on it lightly. Just rest your attention on it lightly. That's your challenge. You would pause once. You would choose the subtle object, and you would notice the small detail in the experience. So let's close with 3 Om, which is the universal sound, and it's optional, but the idea is that you breathe so your exhalation is longer and softer and slower. I would use the universal sound Om, as we have practiced before, that it rises in the belly and then it moves through the chest and it softens at the lips. Let's begin. Place one hand onto your navel and you may repeat, or you may simply just breathe in and breathe out. So I'll just use Om. Get ready. with awareness. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath in. And stay like that and just feel it. With a smile on your face, you may open your eyes. So day 45 is complete. Thank you for showing up every day. And if you've missed it, that every year on March 14 begins my 100-day journey in returning to the essence of yoga. And this year, in celebration of International Day of Yoga on June 21st, this year I chose to revisit Maharishi Patanjali's Yoga Sūtra, which is Yoga Sūtra are 196 aphorisms, sutras, which Maharishi Patanjali compiled in about 250 BC. It's that ancient. And thank you once again for showing up. And we meet again tomorrow. Yes, day 46. Until then, stay warm, stay open, and most importantly, stay honest to your own story. Thank you. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, good day, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining. I cannot thank you enough. Can't wait to see you again tomorrow.